Chapter 5. How nice to see you all back again. Hope you've had a nice week. Hope you've kept busy and kept safe. We've had a nice week. We've been playing lots of games. Chase ball mainly, haven't we? Rusty loves to chase a ball, but we'll get that one later. He's just chilling at the moment in his Star Wars dressing gown, relaxing. So anyway, the magic finger. We're going to finish the story today and see what happens. So set yourselves down and here we go. Okay, so the magic finger. Just to recap, do you remember the story is about this young girl who lives next door to a family called the Gregs, William and Philip, plus Mum and Dad, Mr. and Mrs. Greg. And they like hunting, going out to shoot animals. And the girl is very, very upset by this. And when she gets angry and sees red and gets really cross, she has this tingly feeling all over. She gets very hot and then her finger tingles and then like an electric flash comes out of her finger and she's put the magic finger on the person who's made her cross. Well, she got so cross with the Gregs next door and their hunting and the hurting the animals that she put the magic finger on them. And when they went out shooting the next day, shooting ducks, there were 4 ducks. They just couldn't shoot. It didn't matter what they did, how they tried, and these ducks followed them home. They were there in the night, still there. And then the next morning, do you remember? Everybody woke up. They were very small and they had wings. Mr. and Mrs. Greg and the boys. And they went off out the window and flew around and they spotted the 4 ducks who were now very big and had arms and hands like men going into their house. So they couldn't go back to their house. They had nowhere to go. So they ended up building a nest in a tall tree, but they had no food. So they went back down to the house to see if they could get in and get some food, and they just saw that these ducks were living their life, using their things, and so they were just outside with nothing to eat. So we're going to take up the story from there, okay? Are you ready? I will not eat worms, said Philip. I would rather die. Or slugs, said William. Mrs. Greg took the 2 boys under her wings and hugged them. Don't worry, she said. I can mince it all up very fine and you won't even know the difference. Lovely slug burgers, delicious worm burgers. Oh, no, cried William. Never, said Philip. Disgusting, said Mr. Greg. Just because we have wings, we don't have to eat bird food. We shall eat apples instead. Our trees are full of them. Come on. So they flew to an apple tree. But an apple is not easy to eat without holding it in hands. Every time you try and get your teeth into it, it pushes it away. In the end, they were only able to get a few small bites each. And then it began to get dark, so they flew back to the nest and lay down to sleep. It must have been about this time that I, back in my own house, picked up the telephone and tried to call Philip. I wanted to see if the family was all right. Hello, I said. Whack, said a voice at the other end. Who is it? I asked. Whack, whack. Philip, is that you? Whack, 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 whack. Oh, stop it, I said. Then there came a funny voice. It was like a bird laughing. I put down the telephone quickly. Oh, that magic finger. What has it done to my friends? That night, while Mr. and Mrs. Greg and Philip and William were trying to get some sleep up in the high nest, a great wind began to blow. The tree rocked from side to side, and everyone, even Mr. Greg, was afraid the nest would fall down. Then came the rain. It rained and rained, and the water ran into the nest, and they all got as wet as could be. Oh, it was a bad, bad night. At last the morning came, and with it warm sun. "Well," said Mrs. Gregg, "thank goodness that's over. I never want to sleep in a nest again." She got up and looked over the side. "Help!" she cried. "Look, look down here." "What is it, my love?" said Mr. Gregg. He stood up and peeped over the side. He got the surprise of his life. On the ground below them stood the 4 enormous ducks, as tall as men, and 3 of them were holding guns in their hands. One had Mr. Gregg's gun, one had Philip's gun, and one had William's gun. The guns were all pointing up at the nest. No, called out Mr. and Mrs. Gregg, both together. "Don't shoot! Please don't shoot!" "Why not?" said one of the ducks. It was the one who wasn't holding a gun. "You're always shooting at us." Oh, but that's not the same," said Mr. Gregg. "We're allowed to shoot ducks." "Who allows you?" "Well, we allow each other," said Mr. Gregg. "Very nice," said the duck. "And now we are going to allow each other to shoot you." I would have loved to have seen Mr. Gregg's face just then. Oh, please," cried Mrs. Gregg. "My 2 little children are up here with us. You wouldn't shoot my children." "Yesterday you shot my children," said the duck. "You shot all 6 of my children." Okay, to see how this ends, click straight on part 2.